What's up, everybody? What's up? What's going on, people? How y'all doing? What's going on, my friends? How are ya? How's it going? What's going on in your world? What's going on in your world? What's happening? What's going on? What's going on in your life? What's happening? What's happening in your world? Okay, anyways. What's up, Joanna? What's up, Princess Trans Boy Skylar? What's up, Renaissance Fairy? What's up, Altier? Like, what's up, everybody? What's going on? How's your week? How's your wife? How's your kids? What's up, Cassie? What's going on, everybody? How's it going? How you doing? How's your wife? How's your kids? It is Friday. It is Friday, my friends. It is time to live stream. It is time to react to some shit that's going on in the world right now. What's going on in the world right now? What the fuck is this? Oh, we're getting a hoedown now. It's a hoedown now, honeys. It's a hoedown now. It's a hoedown. It's a hootenanny. It's a hootenanny right now. A hootenanny going on down right now. Woo! My lordy, it's a hootenanny. We got some gumbo. We got some meat on the fucking grill. Yo, let's go. It's hootenanny time. Here we go now. Here we go now. Hootenanny. Anyways, so we got this hootenanny going on. If you are brand new to my channel, if you are not familiar with what goes on, just so you know, I am Jen. My name is Jan Daemon. I am Neogenian, and I like to gaze upon the shit that's going on in the world. I like to look upon, like, mainstream media and just give a Neogenian perspective. So if you're into that, stick around. If you're not, whatever. I don't know. It's a hootenanny. It's a hootenanny. It's a hootenanny. Good to see everybody. I hope you're doing well. Let me know in the chat if there's something exciting that's going on in your life. Like, if not, that's fine. You don't always have to have something exciting going on in your life. But if you want to share some news, shout it out. Jan just getting groovy fun. I mean, I'm nothing but groovy fun. So, anyways. Interesting thoughts that's going on today. I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about the very concept of protests. If you have not been aware, since roughly April 17th, major college campuses have been protesting what's going on in the Middle East. And what's going on is there is a conflict between Israel and Palestine. And American college campuses, like most students, are now going on a protest. They are protesting the genocide of Palestinian people. But it's a very, conflicted issue, right? Because there's a lot of people in the world right now who are saying, what's going on with that? I don't get what you're saying. Israel is just fine. Israel is perfect. What's happening? But there's a lot of mass protests going on college campuses. And I think this is worth jumping into. And the reason I say why, I don't know. Let's hold off for a second before I give my overall feelings on this situation of students protesting in colleges. Let's kind of explore that subject first before I give my overall feelings of the fact. But until then, we are still waiting for people to get in. So, anyways. I see Renaissance Fairy. Good to see you. I see Joanna. I see Spiral. I see MC Heavyset. I see Altier. Good to see you. By the way, we have officially reached over 1,500 subscribers on this channel. And I know that seems small. 1,500 doesn't seem like a large amount of people. But you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start somewhere. So this is where we're starting. We got 1,500 people. We got 1,500 subscribers so far. And here we are. You gotta start somewhere, okay? You gotta start with 1,500. You gotta start with 3,000. You gotta start with our first million. You gotta start somewhere. So we are starting, my friends, and so far we have 1,500 subscribers. We are a tiny channel. We are small, but we are strong. We are a strong community, and we are set. So, anyways, let's see. couple of things that are going on good right now. I decided to go back to school, and this is something that, like, I kind of want to be proud about, right? It's sort of like maybe a silly thing, like to go back to school, but at the same time it seems pretty cool. Anyways, so long story short, I'm gonna go back to school. I'm actually gonna go be a full-time student. I'm starting off at a community college, and I'm going to transfer to a state university, like a California State University. And I'm going to pursue, what is it called? My brain's drawing a blank. This is, bachelor's. I'm actually moving towards a bachelor's in sociology. So, like, I have to start off first, in the area that I'm at. And it's a very beginner level, so I'm going back to school, and it's a very exciting endeavor. I have to talk about my attitude about school in general to begin with. So currently, I am like 36, right? Like, I'm not an old person, but I'm not a young person either. Like, I'm 36, I'm kind of roughly middle-aged, right? And so I'm having thoughts about, what the fuck is this music? What's going on right now?
A little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. And everywhere that Mary went, Mary went, Mary went. And everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
One day, what the fuck is happening right now?
Followed her to school one day, which was against the rules.
What is happening with this music right
now? The children laugh and play, laugh and play, laugh and play. It made
bitchin' music, Jan.
To see a lamb at school.
What the fuck is this?
And so the teacher turned it out. So the teacher turned it out, but still it lingered.
Teacher slapping cheeks.
And waited patiently about, and waited patiently about till Mary did appear. Why does the lamb love Mary so? Mary so, Mary so. Why does the lamb love Mary so? The eager children cried. Why Mary loves the lamb, you know, lamb, you know, lamb, you know. Why Mary loves the lamb, you know. The teacher did reply.
Okay, so anyways. What's happening? Okay, anyways. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Anyways, I decided to go back to school. I'm going to work on a bachelor's degree for sociology. Really cool subject, talking about going back to school as, like, an old person. And it kind of brings up the subject, like, what is an old person, per se? Because, like, when it comes to going to college, I feel like it's automatically associated with, like, a demographic of young people. However, there's plenty of older people that go back to college. People in their 30s, people in their 40s, people in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and even fucking 80s and 90s. Right? Like there's always somebody going back to school. So it's kind of like the same principle to me. Like if somebody is overweight, right? Like if somebody is overweight, if that person goes to the gym are you going to make fun of them? And that's the kind of same principle, like, I tack on to people who are going back to school. Like, are you really going to make fun of an old person for going back to school? Like, they're both in line with the concept of making fun of somebody for improving themselves. If somebody is overweight and they're going to the gym, are you going to make fun of them for being overweight at the gym? Seems kind of like weird, right? Because like they're there to improve themselves. The same thing with like an older person like going back to college. Like, are you going to make fun of that person going to college? Are you really going to make fun of somebody learning? Like, it doesn't really make sense. So, like, that's kind of like the thoughts I have about these sort of situations. It is not hard to hear me talk. It is not hard to hear me talk. Come on. Literally, do I have to press my lips up to the microphone? Do I have to make out with you via microphone? Can you hear me now? Like, seriously, stop it. The music is like down. It's literally like, it's like 0.09 in comparison to like fucking 60. I don't understand. Like, how is the music louder than the fucking voice I'm talking in? Is the music really that loud? So we have three main topics tonight. We're gonna go over the protest on college campuses, the protest in favor of Palestine. We're going to talk about how Andrew Tate is now entering the era of actual trial against his crimes in human trafficking and otherwise. And last but not least, I'm going to take you on a journey with me about a weird website that is very neo-Genian in principle, but it is created by a person who hasn't updated this website in 15 years. So we're talking about I'm going to take you on a journey with me where I discovered a website that is so old and is not kept up. However, somebody is paying for the domain name, the domain, the host of the website and everything like that. And I guess I just don't know how to describe it. Okay, so there's a mystery website that I have been utilizing for the last decade or so. And this website is a particular website that I look to when I do tarot card readings. Okay, so sometimes I read tarot cards, I draw tarot cards to think about my life, where I'm going, my direction. When it comes to the subject of tarot cards, there's different perspectives. In one perspective of tarot cards, you can... Oh my god. Shut up, music. Anyways, nobody cares about the music anyway, so... When you explore the pathway of tarot cards, you can sit there and think tarot cards are magical, they predict the future, they tell you what's gonna be, they know you better than yourself, right? That's one perspective of tarot cards, which I think is bullshit, frankly. Tarot cards don't know you better than yourself. You know yourself better than anybody else. And when you draw a tarot card, the way you interpret that tarot card is dependent on how you think about yourself and where you place yourself in the world and reality. So, for me personally, I think tarot cards are something that's purely psychological. I don't think tarot cards predict the future. I don't think tarot cards predict your fate. They can definitely give off readings that seem like that, right? It can seem like the tarot cards are telling you what's going to happen in your future. It can seem like tarot cards are predictive. But that's not necessarily the case. And here's where I want to sort of fight for the concept of tarot cards. Because, like, on the one hand, I have to say, when you're talking about tarot cards, they don't predict your future. They don't. They're not magical. They're not. They don't give you some sort of insight that you weren't privy to before. Tarot cards, when you pull a tarot card, when you do a tarot reading, they tell you exactly what you already know deep down inside. Tarot cards don't predict the future. They don't tell you anything that you don't already know. They tell you exactly what you already know. It's just that you have such a separation between your conscious self and your subconscious self that when you look at tarot cards, it seems foreign, right? Like it seems like an otherworldly body thing. But when in fact, it is your own thoughts. It is you. That is like mostly my idea of what tarot cards are. So tarot cards are something that I still enjoy. I have a deck of tarot cards that I enjoy. Let's see. Let me grab them right now. Hold on. So I have this deck of tarot cards. This is the Thoth deck. Thoth. Thoth deck. This is my favorite deck of tarot cards. I have had this deck of tarot cards for like seriously 15 years. Like I've had this same deck of tarot cards for fucking like 15 years. Like this is an old fucking like set of cards that I've had in my possession for a long time. Each card in this deck has a lot of strong symbology, right? The symbology in these cards can be taken in two different ways. In one way, you can pick a card and you can be like, this is a fortune telling. This is telling me what my future is going to be like. You know, right? You can definitely like pick out a tarot card and read it in that way. Or the way that I like to read tarot cards is that it's not something that predicts the future. It is not something that predicts your fate. These are simply insights to your subconscious. These are insights to your own personal psychology. And there's definitely elements of your personal psychology that other people share, right? It's kind of like what we call archetypes. Okay, an archetype is like a universal story that we all know deep down inside is true. There is the archetype of the hero. We all know deep down, even if we all have our own like specific interpretations of such, we all have some sort of concept of the hero, right? We also all have a concept of a villain. We have a concept of the protagonist and the antagonist, right? Like deep down inside all of us all, even if it comes out very different and interpreted differently, we all have a concept of basic archetypes, such as the hero or the villain. We all have a concept deep down inside of us of a healer. We have a deep embedded concept of a teacher. We have a deep embedded concept of let's see, a healer, a teacher, a hero, a warrior, a villain. Like, we know that deep down in humanity, no matter how you tell it, no matter what culture you grow up in, there is some concept of like a hero, a villain, a protagonist, an antagonist, all this, that in between. These are the things that I associate as an archetype. An archetype is these sort of like fundamental pillars of story, right? So it's interesting to me to come across a website that is very specific about taking all these fucking, what is it, 72? I think it's like 72. Is it 72 cards that are in a tarot deck? Anyway, so like a website, somebody actually took the time to take all of these cards, because each and every one of these tarot cards has an archetype, has a story, has an element of humanity within it, whether it's conscious or subconscious, right? But somebody took the time to make a website about each and one of these archetypes, the multitudes of archetypes that are in this tarot deck. Not only did they take the time to make this website, but for some reason, it's still active, even though this website that I've been exploring is over 15 to 20 years old. No joke. Does anybody remember the era of websites back in, like, kind of the era of, like, 1995 and the year 2000? Like, does anybody remember that sort of, like, era of websites? It was kind of an interesting creative time. Because, like, when people made websites back in, like, 1995 and, like, 2000, it wasn't so much as a hub of access like today. if you go to somebody's website, you expect to find a hub of links to like other social media outlets, right? But back in the day, like back in between like 1995 and 2000, and perhaps like earlier and later than that era, but like websites were less of a access point to like find other links to other places. Websites back then were kind of like an homage or like a piece of like the creator. Like it was almost like an artistic piece. It was almost like a example of the personality of the person building the website. There's something about the way people built websites earlier than now that seemed more of like a publicized piece. It seemed more of a statement. Whereas if you look at websites now, it's sort of just like a hub of links. It's like you go to a website and it's like, well, you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on OnlyFans, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Tumblr, you can find me on YouTube. Like, that's kind of like what websites are currently as we know them today. But back in the day, in like early 2000s, like even back like let's say like 1990s to like up to 2000s, websites were a really big declaration piece. And I want to get into that. But like, I'm going to save this. There's a particular, like, because you're like, why? Jan, why are you talking about this? What are you talking about, like, websites in the 90s? I found a website that is so profound in its knowledge, and it is so antiquated in terms of, like, when it was published. And I'm so fascinated with it, and it has so many good Neogenian ideas. I have to share it with you. But before we get into that, we're going to like cover some other stuff first. So like first we're going to like talk about protest going on in colleges, and then we're going to talk about, oh, guess what? Andrew Tate is suddenly like Romania is moving it to an actual trial. We're going to talk about that real quick. And then we're going to get into this weird, mysterious like tarot card website that I like that suddenly is like this bigger like issue. So anyways, I need to pee. I'm gonna pee real quick. Don't go anywhere because it's gonna take 2 seconds and we will be back and we're gonna get started on our main topics. Okay, so like okay. Okay, let's go. Let's see. Viewing content. Did you know that currently there are several major college campuses that are protesting what's going on in the Middle East between Israel and Gaza and the Palestinians? Here's where I'm interested, because when I learned about the concept of major college campuses protesting ideas of war, it was back in the day in Nam. Let's see. College protests, Nam. Is there anybody in the chat? I feel like there's some of us. Like, I feel like some people in the chat are old enough to remember the protest against Nam. Like, I feel like because when I learned about U.S. history growing up in public school, we kind of like always talked about the iconic protest of college students in the Vietnam War. And if I am correct, which I feel like I am, when college students protested the Vietnam War, they were met with government military force. Quite literally, students who were American citizens were protesting the Vietnam War, and the government, police, and military force came in to deal with that. And we learned, I feel like, at least I feel like personally, I learned from that time that when students protest serious acts of war and genocide, they are met with an internal government response, to the point where it's almost almost, I say almost with like quotations, but it's like the government is attacking itself, like the U.S. nation is attacking itself when your own U.S. citizens that are college students, that are taught and that genocide is wrong, right? Okay, so you go to college, you learn about the world, you learn and you discover that genocide is a thing and it's wrong. And suddenly, when students internalize that lesson and that message that genocide is wrong, and they express it outwards, they internalize it and express it outwards and protest and demand some like attention to the issue, suddenly it's wrong, right? So here's what's going on in these colleges. Like, I'm trying to draw a connection between back in the day when we learned that there were students protesting the Vietnam War so much that they literally laid their lives on the lines. And the U.S. government responded to that by sending out police force, sending out military force, and literally killing those students that were protesting an ideology, an idea that war is bad. And at this point, when I'm looking at the college protests today, in this day and age, I see the same thing. I see a group of students who went to college, who were pursuing education, in which that education educated and informed them of not only what genocide is, but how it's wrong. And these students then internalize this message that genocide is wrong and this is not okay. And so they act upon that internalization. They act upon that. And it doesn't matter if it's back then, like with the Vietnam War, or if it's today with Islam versus Gaza. It definitely has its differences, but it's the same principle. That there are United States students participating in private colleges. Okay, so let's talk about this fact. Let's talk about the fact that there's a difference between private colleges and public colleges. You can definitely go to a community college, you can go to a state college, but then there's private colleges. And that's the thing where it's like Yale, Harvard. It's like all this shit that you have to like talk about to like go towards that situation. Oh, Haley. New generation fighting to actualize their power by expressing their will for how the world should be run. The conservative traditional system fighting to protect itself from change. Exactly. Anyways, okay. Let me gather my thoughts. Hold on. So, you have your state-funded colleges, right? These are colleges funded by the government, by the state. You also have private colleges. This is shit like Harvard, Yale, like all this special, like fucking like shit that's going on. These are privately funded colleges. In other words, these are rich people funded colleges. And I think there's definitely a debate between state-funded colleges and private-funded colleges, whether one is rewarding in more education than the other. Yeah, sure. I mean, like, that's kind of, like, besides the point. But, like, when it comes to private-run colleges, where it's, like, Harvard, Yale, UCLA, this shit and the other, like, these really are colleges that are funded by people that are not in poverty. You get what I'm saying? Like, these are rich people, like, colleges. And perhaps, like, they seem like they have some advantages as far as, including minorities. But ultimately, they are just, like, simply colleges and education funded by, like, rich people. I think it's a weird subject to talk about, like, are all rich people completely, like, ignorant? Like, are all rich people blind to the truth of, like, the rest of humanity? I think in most cases, yeah. But I would definitely argue for the exception that there are people out there in the world who grew up with significant advantages in life that are aware, like self-aware enough to be like, yeah, I'm privileged and other people aren't. Like, I definitely think that's a possibility. I'm not gonna put a stop to that. But ultimately, there's something to be said about privately funded colleges that are also simultaneously funding and allocating funds to these sort of war efforts that the students of these private facilities are becoming aware of, and they're saying, hey, I don't like the fact that my tuition money is going towards the genocide of Palestinians. I'm gonna fucking naysay, right? There's something to be seen here. It's the same thing that I saw, like, back in the day, where students were protesting the Vietnam War, and I'm seeing the same fucking thing today, where students are protesting the genocide against Gaza and Palestinian people. Let's do a little bit of, like, let's look at some, media about that, and let's kind of draw some conclusions between what happened then and what's happening now. Because I'll tell you what, ultimately, as a Neo-Genian, when it comes to being a Neo-Genian and looking at circumstances where somebody is protesting war, I don't think it's going to be perfect, right? I don't think protesting war is perfect. I don't think it's a perfect self-righteous position to be in. I think there's definitely some flaws. But those flaws shouldn't be the focus of what's going on, and I think the overall result of actions should be what's focused upon. So when it comes to ideas of protesting war, like, as a Neo-Genian, I can't tell you that you shouldn't. Absolutely not. If you were so, like, vindicated about a justice issue, of, like, an issue of war, of an issue of genocide, I'm not going to discourage you to protest. Certainly not. But I'm not going to sit here and say that protest in general is perfect. Is protest perfect? And is that the point of protesting? Is the point of protesting to be a perfect, like, counterpoint to, like, what you know to be true currently? I don't think so. But even though protest in itself isn't perfect in morality, whatever morality we fucking decide it should be perfected upon, it's important. Protest is important. Anger is important. Anger is often something that people look upon, like especially religious people. They're like, oh, you shouldn't feel angry. You shouldn't be angry. Like, anger is bad. It's just like a sign that you're unwell. It's like, no, fuck that. Let me tell you this. Anger is good. Anger isn't perfect, right? Like, anger is not perfect, but there is an element of anger that is good. Being angry is a sign that, like, something is wrong. Anger is a reaction to injustice. Anger is a reaction to injustice. Anger is a sign that something is not right. Anger is a sign of protection of something that you hold dear, even if you don't like it. Anger is a signifier that something needs to change. If you are angry about something, you are signifying that something needs to change. So I don't like to beat up on anger. I don't like to look at anger in itself as something that you should avoid. I think anger, something needs to be, you need to recognize it. Anger is good. Anger, like being angry, tells you that something needs to change. Like, you should not feel ashamed of being angry. You should embrace your anger. You should look at what you're angry about and focus on what it is that makes you angry. Like anger is a good thing. And that's what I see. When I see these students across colleges, when I see these students protest mistreatment of Palestinian people, when these people protest destroying Gaza, like, they are angry for a very righteous reason. They are angry because they want something to change. They are angry because somebody is being harmed by these ideologies, right? Students in these college campuses in America, they're not protesting for the fun of it. Like, this isn't fun. This is not fun. It's not a fun thing. It really isn't. This isn't a joy. It's not like when you sign up for college, you're like, oh, and I'm going to protest a war. Like, no. Like, that really doesn't happen. It just so happens to be that today's day and age, we are protesting this war on Gaza. And this is the same situation that they had back in the day when students were protesting the war in Vietnam. It's the same attitude. Students today are angry at the injustice and mistreatment of a certain group of people. So much and so forth that they're willing to put their lives on the line for it.
But opposition to the war was growing. Voices of those objecting to U.S. involvement in Vietnam were getting louder. In May of 1970, 4 students were killed by National Guard troops during a campus protest at Kent State University in Ohio. Borg learned of the incident while he was on the air reading the news in Cedar Rapids.
And I thought, boy, this is getting out of hand. These student demonstrations are getting out of hand. I don't blame the National Guardsmen. They're trying to keep the peace, but the students have overstepped bounds, and who's at fault here? But we've got to get some order back in the United States because we're fighting a war in South Vietnam, and yet we can't keep the peace in our own country.
I mean, this guy already that's talking is kind of like I don't know, like, okay. I guess this is very difficult for me to articulate because, like, I feel like there is an overarching system that people should be, like, going by, right? Like, there is an overarching system that is believed that people should abide by. And it's this sort of like you should be compliant with this system that, oh God, I don't know how to describe this without sounding like a weird, like, leftist radical. And I'm not trying to, like, come across as that. But it's like, there's so many key words and stuff that, like, I can't describe this system other than, like, it's like we are living in a system where it's like the white man is like the ultimate pillar of existence of humanity. The white man has a wife and a nuclear family, and it's all about procreation. And anything that's not associated with, like, a white man is seemingly derogatory. It's seemingly, like, separate. It's almost like not even, like, considered a reality. So it's like, I feel like I'm living in a society where it's like, there has to be this certain thing, right? This Americanized idea of, like, white man, like, with a nuclear family, with a wife and children, and, like, anything outside of that is a threat. So when I look at situations of colleges protesting ideas of war, it's almost like the way the media portrays that. And I think that's where I'm going. When mainstream media portrays college protesters against ideas of war, they portray it in a specific way that's against that very, like, conservative, Republican, like, white male American way of, like, the nuclear family, like, just like anything that is remotely against the idea of, like, the white man, Republican, conservative, like, nuclear family idea. Suddenly it's associated with, like, it's irrelevant, like, it's, unintellectual, like, it's, irrationality. Like, it's so weird to me how, I don't know, I think, like, I just constantly think about ideology in general and how the system that is currently in place has certain standards that if you don't meet, you're out of the system. But perhaps you can meet those standards just enough to be slightly in the system. And this is where I talk about in concepts of like the pick me gay people, the pick me trans. Let me explain. So we have the system that we're currently living in, which is very anti-gay, anti-trans, all that shit. But we have certain trans and gay people who are like, hey, guess what? I assimilate into the system just enough for you to accept me, but then just enough for me to point at other gay people and tell them that they are wrong. For example, there is a kind of a movement of gay people, lesbian and gays, that are against trans people. Because when you're gay or lesbian, like if you're a man, you like other men, right? And if you're a woman, you like other women. But when you bring in trans people into the situation, it kind of mixes it up, doesn't it? Because if somebody who is born, I don't know, biologically this way, and they're saying like, hey, I'm a female, suddenly there's some extra conversation about like, well, ultimately in this world, we want people to be straight, right? That's the narrative and the system that's in place. You are cis and straight, and shall I say white? Cis, white, straight. If you are gay and you are white, you have a platform to negotiate some sort of acceptance into the system, right? So much more than if you're gay and black. If you're gay and black, you sort of have a double downing and like a double negative, and you have less platform of negotiation with this system that's overarching than, let's say, a white gay person. Does this make sense? Like, if you're white and gay, you have some premise to like assimilate and negotiate assimilation into the system. If you're black and gay, you have less platform of negotiation with assimilation into the system. So I feel like there's constantly this platform of like, it's not so much like, okay, so we're talking about like kids protesting war in college, right? We're talking about like the general leftist ideas. Leftist ideas, oh my God, they're gay, they're anti-war, they're this, that, and the other. But that's in spite. That's counter to a system that's already in place. There's already a system that tells us we have to be man or woman. We have to be straight. We have to be a nuclear family. We have to uphold Christianity or like Judaism or like things that, you know, like sort of like Western culture. Like we have to uphold that thing. And anything despite that, if you're gay, if you're black, if you're this, that, and the other, it's considered ultimately counter to what we already know. If we can recognize that there is this system in place that we're supposed to abide by, that we're supposed to live by, and we can recognize that anything opposing that is the opposite, can we not then conclude that there should be a better system for humanity to live by that isn't just like A and B, it's like C? It's the better conceptualization for humanity. Let's watch this.
Borg learned of the incident while he was on the air reading the news in Cedar Rapids.
And I thought, boy, this is getting out of hand. These student demonstrations are getting out of hand. I don't blame the National Guardsmen. They're trying to keep the peace, but the students have overstepped bounds. And
oh, shut up.
Who's at fault here? But we've got to get some order back in the United States.
You know what? I gotta share real quick. Something that I saw on Twitter. Oh my god, this is so... This. So straight up, I saw this. This is a congressman. Dean Phillips is a congressman. And this congressman made a Twitter post that says, imagine if college students put as much energy into protecting reproductive rights and reducing poverty, homelessness, crime, and other injustices in America. Imagine. And to me, this congressman is stating that changes in our society and changes in our government rely on students. So I responded with this. I said, imagine if leaders did their jobs and didn't rely on student protests to make serious change. Imagine. And this is kind of like the whole point that I'm like bringing up these like college protests. Like, because like, and I'm talking about like the concept of anger, right? Where I said anger is righteous. Anger indicates something is wrong. Like, there's something within these protests. There's something ideologically going on within these students that they feel like we have to say something, especially in the face of private colleges personally giving money to fund the IDF, to fund Israel, to fund the genocide of Palestinians. Students are standing up and saying, I don't want to give my tuition money to fund directly the genocide of Palestinian people. The same thing happened in Vietnam. Straight up, students were saying, I do not agree with personally giving my tuition money to the funding of, like, genociding Vietnam people. We already learned in history that when students protest involving military influence in those situations, doesn't work out well. We already learned back in the 60s with the protest of the War of Vietnam, we already learned that sending in military force to deal with student protesters, students that are United States civilians, we already learned that this isn't right. This doesn't work. Yet here we are again. You send kids to college. Children go to college. Young adults go to college. Young adults learn that genocide is bad. They learn that genocide is bad. It's wrong, right? But the moment that these students internalize this message and they decide to act on this message, suddenly it's bad. Suddenly, like, we need to fucking silence them. Suddenly, we need to send in military people. Suddenly, we need to send in the police to silence them. It just seems so asinine. There's no music. Susan says it's hard to hear you over the music. There's literally no music. What music? There's no music? Where? I literally have no music playing. What's going on? There's no music. Where's the music? I don't get it. Is there music? Like, literally. Oh, Susan is behind. Susan! Skip ahead. Oh no, Susan. That is like... Susan. You are way behind, honey. Anyways, let's go back to this because, like, anyways, I just want you to keep this in mind. That, like, my whole stance on colleges, as a Neogenian, I am Neogenian, and my Neogenian take on students protesting war within their campuses is valid. It is, because these private institutions, these private schools, their funding also goes towards supporting the genocide and the suffering of these people. And these students recognize that. They recognize the capitalistic motives of their schools, of their colleges, of their system that they're operating in. You can't teach kids that genocide is bad and then get fucking pissed off at them when they internalize that and they act out and they protest against that. You can't teach kids that genocide is bad and condemn them when they internalize that and act upon that. Just straight up. And that's why when it comes to protesting, it's a very odd, like, conversation. Like, there's gray area. Totally. Like, there's nuance to protest. When it comes to protesting injustices as serious as genocide, when it comes to, like, the Black Lives Matter movement that we saw during the pandemic, like, these are very justified movements. These are not based on something that's like crazy and just like you can't fucking like it's not real. Like, these are real situations to be angry about. You can't teach children that genocide is wrong and then turn around and condemn them for protesting against that. It doesn't fucking make sense. So, CNN, which is like a major news outlet, has recently put out some shit against these protesters. Interesting enough, this one video like really slapped me hard, where there was like a specific woman who was a professor, and she got like, I don't know, it's weird. This specific like professor, she was trying to point out that there was some injustice in how a student was being arrested, and she herself was arrested in that thing. And I find it just like really odd. I don't know. Get on the ground. So you see this lady here. Somebody is being pinned to the ground and being arrested. And this woman is walking up to this situation and saying, hey, this isn't right. But then the police turn on her and start arresting her. And this is like, here, I have a really good point with this. Watch this.
You are fascist! You are Hitler! You are a laughing dog! Shame on you! May you never live another day!
I am a professor!
This is every professor, everyone!
I am a professor of economics!
You are rabid dogs! You are fascists!
She's saying she's a professor of economics.
It was a peaceful protest until they started fighting troopers.
L-I-N. I reacted impulsively. I apologize.
No, you're right. It's right to rebel. I'm gonna share this.
Here we have a professor of economics. She walked in onto a situation where a student was being arrested for protesting. And she was pointing out, hey, this is wrong. And in response, the police grabbed her, this professor, and as you can see, threw her to the ground. Here's a point that many Black Lives Matter people make. If the police are willing and comfortable with treating an old white woman this way, like if they're comfortable with treating her like this, they are equally as comfortable with treating black people with violence and disdain. And this is a point that a lot of Black Lives Matter movements make. They take it very seriously when police treat white women like shit for standing up for injustice, because they recognize if the police are this comfortable with treating this woman like this for these reasons, then they are extra comfortable in treating black people who stand up for injustice. Exactly. Susan says, imagine if she had been black. Here's the problem. We have many of these instances today. I'm not just saying like this is like happening like 60 years ago. I'm not saying like this. Let's see. I'm not saying like this is like happening like in the 1960s. This is happening today. Because, like, not only the police are, like, willing to treat this woman like shit for standing up to injustice. Check this out. Let's see, what does this person say? The U.S. is a country where armed, uninformed neo-Nazis can march through the streets and police will form a respectfully protective cordon around them because of freedom of speech. But if you peacefully protest mass graves full of kids in Gaza, you get this. Now, I gotta say this. When it comes to protests, you can protest for different reasons, right? And within the oppressive system that we live in, that system tends to protest on behalf of itself. So we can't necessarily say that protesting in itself is just, right? Like, we have to look at what you are protesting. And it's true that the government, within the last, let's say, like since the pandemic, we have seen first-handedly that the government protects more right-winged, like white fascist, like belief systems than they do systems that oppose the overarching system that we have to live in. I don't know. Check this out.
Media.
The woman here that they're dragging out is a black woman.
Media. Media.
Look at that. Look at the way they just grabbed this lady. Look at that. Look at the way they just fucking, like, grabbed her. Like that. Just straight up, they just plucked her out of her fucking, like, self. Look, I'm gonna tell you straight as day. As a Neogenian, I hope that ultimately we don't have to fucking resort to protesting like this. But if there are Neogenians that recognize injustice so much that they are willing to put their livelihoods on the line, right? Like, they're willing to put themselves out there, like, in defense of, like they're willing to put themselves out there to highlight injustice. I can't deny them that. I can't. I don't want to sit here and say that protesting is good, because the reason I can't say protesting is good is because something has to go so severely fucking wrong that you have to protest to begin with, right? So perhaps protesting isn't perfect. Perhaps it's not like the ultimate, like, self-righteous ideation. But when somebody is protesting injustice on this level, to the point where, like, several fucking college campuses are, like speaking out against this, like, you gotta listen to something. You gotta listen. I hate violence. Especially if there's situations where somebody is, like, self-immolating, like somebody who's lighting themselves on fire in the name of protest. Like, I can't sit there and look at them and tell them, like, you're wrong. But I can't sit there and support that either, right? So it puts me in a weird situation where it's like, well, I can't condone the fact that you set yourself on fire. However, because you already did that, I need to listen to the message that you're trying to convey. And that is more important than having a moralistic conversation about whether or not protesting in itself is right or wrong. I think that's sort of besides the fact. So that's why personally, and I gotta tell you, this is personal opinion. I am Neogenian. Like, this is my personal opinion. I don't want protesting to happen because there shouldn't be a situation where protesting is necessary. But when protesting happens, especially with these schools, with these students, like, we have to fucking pay attention. We gotta pay attention. Anime Girl Moan says, what the fuck is Neogenian? If you're asking that, then you're a newbie and you don't know what's going on. Like, you don't know.
Get on the ground, I said! Go! Oh my god! You're a rabid dog! Oh my god! Give me some cops! My head! You just hit my head! On the concrete! Oh my god! Oh my god! You people are fascists! You are Hitler! You are a rabid dog! Shame on you! May you never live another day!
A Neogenian sounds like a soldier form of Warhammer. I mean, like, I guess. Like, I don't play Warhammer. Like, I'm not into that, so, like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, you're trying to associate neogeneanism with some sort of like geek pop culture shit. Why? For what? Just because, like, you don't get it? I don't know. I think the reason why people associate Neogenean with, like, sort of Warhammer and, like, D&D and stuff like that is because, like, there's literally no other, like, conceptualization of reality where immaterial is possible. Because I think fundamentally Neogeneanism is realizing that matter is not the answer for all. Like, pure atheism is not the answer to reality. Like, saying that reality or, like, abstract thought is a product of material, like, physical atoms, like, it in itself is a belief. So, like, I feel like people sort of, like, associate Neogenean with Warhammer or D&D and stuff like that because, like, their only other concept of things that are outside the scope of, like, materialism, like, it has to be fantasy. And, like, it's sort of like this weird false dichotomy. Like, either, like, you're purely materialistic. Consciousness and abstract thought is a pure product of physical atoms, or this is make-believe and stuff like that. I'd like to kind of, like, go into the website, honestly, that I was, like, getting into because of this. But, let's see. There's only one thing I don't get: drugs. I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I have to pee, and I'm going to come back to you in 2 seconds, but I have to pee. All right, we're going to move on. I think we kind of, like, made the point. Like, there's a lot of protests going on college campuses. They are protesting injustices, and they are being met with military police force, which is perpetuating the ideology of the system that we think should be in place, that we think should be the default system, and it's wrong. I think this is a really good opportunity to, like, talk more in depth about this stuff, but because, you know, I'm just kind of, like, diving into it, like, right now, I don't really have anything else to add to it, but, like, let me pee, and then we're going to move on to different subjects. All right? Okay. Hello, everybody. Let's talk about, oh, you know what? So, in other news, if you are familiar with Andrew Tate, who is I don't know. He's an iconic sort of figure for young children in his attitude of women. Sigma Chad. And Sigma Chad! Straight up. Anyways, so like if you are familiar with Andrew Tate, you know what's going on. And if you're not, like, I'm sorry, but you kind of just have to tune in. But anyways, recently, Romania, the Romanian government, has decided to actually put Andrew Tate on trial for human trafficking. Straight up. Like, we're going. Like, let's go. Like, I mean, he has totally, like, been incarcerated in some degree. Tate is the man. Tate! Oh my god! No, I have to tell you, like, what is this? Like, Andrew Tate. Yo, no joke. Like, Andrew Tate totally just, like, posted this on Twitter recently, and it just, like, it makes me laugh so fucking hard. Oh my fuck. Why is my computer so fucking slow right now? Stop it! Oh my fuck. Okay, so Andrew Tate, like, recently posted this. Andrew Tate is sort of like an iconic symbol of, I don't know, masculinity, but like masculinity as far as like the patriarchy is concerned. So it's so weird to be like, okay, so Andrew Tate is like, okay, so he literally said this. Andrew Tate said, sex is for making children. Any man who has sex with women because it, quote unquote, feels good is gay. Oh my, pee-pee feels good. This is so great. In fact, you are 40 with less than 5 children. You're probably gay. All that feels good, pee-pee sex, and hardly any genetic legacy? That's it. Fellas, is it gay to enjoy sex with women? Is it gay when your wiener feels good inside a woman? Like, fellas, Is it gay to love fucking women? Like, is it? Yo, I'm a total proponent of masculinity. Like in some weird sadistic way. Like I'm kind of a proponent of it. But when you are so fucking masculine, you are so fucking cis and straight that you view enjoying sex with women as gay, you kind of miss the mark, right? Like you kind of, like, you went over fucking board to the point where you missed it. You missed it. You missed it, honey. Let's see. I'm not gay. It is gay. I only have sex with male horses for head. Yeah, only heterosexuality. Well, guess what? Andrew Tate is being, like, trialed. CNN. Oh, fuck you. I don't like CNN. CNN is fucking bullshit. But, like, we'll read this. Whatever. The trial of Andrew Tate, a self-proclaimed misogynist, online influencer accused of human trafficking and rape, can go ahead, a Romanian court said Friday. Tate was indicted in June along with his brother Tristan and 2 Romanian citizens on charges of human trafficking, rape, and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women. Allegations they have denied. Well, obviously. The court in Bucharest, Romania's capital, has not yet confirmed a trial date, and the Tate brothers have already appealed the ruling, said Matea, blah, 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 a spokeswoman for the brother. I think it's so funny that the Tate brothers have a woman spokesperson on behalf of them. I feel like that's like a particular move, right? Like, say you are accused of being misogynistic and you were accused of trafficking women and mistreating women. How good would it look for you if you got a woman lawyer? Does that not seem sus to you? Does it not seem sus to you if you are being accused of misogyny and suddenly you hire a woman lawyer to defend you? I'm not saying this woman lawyer is wrong. I mean, I'm not saying she's full of shit. I'm not saying, like, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. I'm just saying it's a little bit weird if you're being accused of misogyny and human trafficking of women to suddenly hire a woman lawyer. Suddenly you care about what women think only when it defends you. A little bit odd there, isn't it? A little odd. Romanian persecutors allege the Tate brothers seduced victims by falsely claiming they wanted a relationship or marriage with them. Yeah. The issue with Andrew Tate, Andrew Tate has this grand ideology that's about getting ahead in life, making money, getting ahead of other people. Within this ideology that you put forth money down to, pretty much puts women in the state of like a usable object, right? Like Andrew Tate and his brother and their whole philosophy is that women are tools to be used. Women are easily manipulated, palatable, pliable, manipulable. Like, you can take women and morph them and mix them in any way you want. That is the grounding of the philosophy, the pillar of the philosophy of Andrew Tate. And you can use women to benefit yourself. The problem with this is that Andrew Tate has publicized his detailed methods of using women enough to where authorities are getting involved. Okay. Because it turns out that you can't be a man and convince women to fall in love with you just to then convince women to do whatever it is you want them to do. Even if it is wanting women to do online sex work and the money they make from that benefits you too. Do you see where I'm going with this? Andrew Tate understands there's a demographic of women who are lacking leadership. The problem with this is that Andrew Tate is preying upon women and capitalizing on vulnerable people so that he can benefit from their problems. Andrew Tate is a grifter. I mean, like, totally. I mean, he's totally a grifter. You know, it's so weird to talk about Andrew Tate, like, at this point, because, like, when I first started talking about Andrew Tate, like, it was a very new concept, right? Like, it was a very, like, brand new, like, here's the embodiment of, like, toxic masculinity amplified, like, 10 times. But at this point, it's been, like, several years later, right? And Andrew Tate is still here for some reason. The only thing that we get from this situation is the fact that Andrew Tate is just now, within the last day, being told by the Romanian government that he is in fact, on trial for human trafficking. He is, in fact, being criminalized for taking advantage of vulnerable people in order to benefit himself financially. Hey, Mark. Thank you so much, Mark, for coming and like hanging out and making our place like comfortable and safe. Mark is a really good moderator. I like Mark. Mark, I gotta say, I gotta put you on spot. I want more ASMR. I want more ASMR philosophical concepts. I want more philosophical concepts explained through ASMR with Mark's voice. I'm just gonna say. I'm gonna say that. That's it. You know, I kind of want to like, I want to get more into like Andrew Tate and stuff, but like, frankly, I want to just like move on. Something's going on here. Because if you recall, earlier in this live stream, I kind of like went off on this like weird narrative about like the concept of esotericism and like occultism and physics and things like that. I want to talk about a website that is so odd. And I'm kind of wondering if you all will sort of like stick with me in this. Let me explain. I like tarot cards. I have a deck of tarot cards here in my hand. I don't think tarot cards are something that can predict the future, but I think they're very interesting in the fact that they can give an insight to your personal psychology and sort of like subconscious. So I like tarot cards. I like particularly the Thoth deck. Thoth. Is that what I... Anyway. Thoth. The Thoth deck. This is what I have. There is a particular website that I go to. Like, if I have my deck of tarot cards here, and I draw this one, the Seven of Swords, what I usually do is I go online and I look it up. Seven Swords Corax. And so I click on this. And I'm like, here's a website. Like if I'm looking up the Seven of Swords, right? Like this card. Right here in my hand. And I go to this website. This is a website that I've been relying on for well over a decade. Right, okay. And so I utilize this website for very purposeful explanations of what it is I'm looking for. I am looking at this website for specific interpretations of like tarot cards. So it's like I can look at this and it's like, okay, you got the Seven of Swords, you know, and it's got this really good like rational explanation. Here's the thing. This rational explanation here was curated by somebody. Somebody who created this website had this very specific important thing to say about these cards. And not just like any card. All cards. So, this is a website I like, and it's like, let's see. Here you can find the meanings of all 78 cards of the tarot deck, with a focus on the Thoth Crowley Tarot, which I have here. This is the Thoth Crowley Tarot is kind of like where I'm at. Anyways, please note that this section is a part of my tarot site, and so designed that you can float it above the main part of the regular site in order to get the meaning of a card while dealing with it on some other page. Therefore, most links in here leading out of this section will display in the main part of the tarot site, and if this window is standing outside of the main frame, the new page opens behind the card expansion window. So so pretty much this person is explaining that there's some depth with the way this was created. Imagine liking tarot cards. Imagine having a deck of tarot cards. Imagine having a deck of tarot cards, particularly as the Thoth deck. The Thoth deck, which is like the Aleister Crowley oriented deck. Imagine going to this website to interpret very specific cards of this deck. When you have tarot cards, you have... It's kind of similar to a playing deck of cards, where like you have like the hearts, the diamonds, the clovers, this, that, and the other. The same thing with tarot cards. You have like the wands, the cups, the swords, and the discs. Right. So you can go to this website, which I always rely on, like when I have like any questions about tarot stuff, especially like with the deck that I have being associated with Thoth and Aleister Crowley, I rely heavily on the Corex.com, which is a very rational interpretation of like what these cards mean. So imagine that you like this deck of tarot cards like me. Okay, I like this deck of tarot cards. I recognize that this is the Thoth deck. I recognize that this is associated with Aleister Crowley. I type in a search on the internet and I find this particular website called thecorex.com, which has a very well laid out explanation of each and every individual tarot card. Like, if you click on this site, like, they have everything. The Ace of Wands, right? Like, they have, like, even, like, a part in the Tree of Life where this is associated. The website that I'm looking at right now is old. And I don't mean, like, slightly old. I mean, like, really old. This is a website built 15 years ago. I don't know if you all know what it's like. Okay, so like let me explain this. back in like the era of like late 90s and early 2000s, like that year, right? Like that age range of like late 90s and early 2000s. Think about websites. They had a very certain like style of building these websites. Susan says it was built in 1997. Yeah, no, so this is what I'm talking about. This website that I'm looking at right now, that sort of like covers basically like tarot cards, right? Like this was made a couple of decades ago. This is a style of website building and website creation that is a very lost art. And the reason I say that is I feel like when we make websites today, it's more of just like a hub of like where you can find other information. Whereas when people made websites back in like late 90s and early 2000s, I feel like it was less of a hub of information and more of like a published statement of like personality and like ideals. I feel like this was an era where like websites were less of a just like simply a hub for other links to click onto and go to. And it's more of just kind of like an expression of personality and an expression of interests. So I'm looking at this website that like, okay, I have this deck of tarot cards, right here. And I utilize this website to help me talk about specific cards. Like if I draw the Knight of Cups, right? Then I go to this website. And I go to like the Knight of Cups. And I read this description of what the Knight of Cups is supposed to be. I'm like, this is good. Here's where, like, shit went weird. I recognize that I've been using this website for literally 10 years. I'm not even joking. I'm not trying to be, like, over the top. Like, I literally have been just, like, referencing this website in terms of, like, interpreting, like, tarot cards for years. Last night, I decided to just explore this website in general. And it even got to the point where, like, I had to, like, message Susan. And I'm like, Susan, you have to, like, get on Zoom with me because, like, this is crazy. So, I'm going to go back to the thing, Corex.com. Ultimately, the website is like Corex.com/tarot. And you get into that then. But like, I was just like, for randomly, I'm just like, what's Corex.com? You go to Corex.com. By the way, the word Corex is like a, it's essentially just means crow. Corex is like the, biological terminology for crow. If you go to Corex.com, you get this website. You wave your mouse all over. Nothing is going on. Oh, look. There's this tiny little sign. It says, okay. Corex.com. We have all these different like sub things. Something that Susan was kind of like explaining to me that I think we kind of don't understand as millennials is back in the day, like in the 90s, like you had a website, and Susan, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like you had a website, like for example, Corex.com, but even if you had elements that aren't specific to a topic, you would still build a web page that's associated with a domain that you built. I don't know if that's the right way to describe it, but it's like back in the day, like in the 90s, like you would buy a domain name and then you would have your main domain name, but then you would have like subsites. But the subsites didn't necessarily have to like correlate with each other. Yeah, so Susan says, yes, exactly. I know tons of people that did that. Well, here's where I'm fascinated. Because, like, this isn't necessarily special in itself, but I think it's extremely special in the fact that we don't see these kinds of websites anymore. We don't see this kind of level of creativity with websites. Like, this is an old era of website art. I feel like it's a little bit lost with like early 90s, even like late 80s, early 90s era of like website building. Like when you built a website in that time, it was more of like a statement. It was like a published piece. Nowadays, like in my time, like when you build a website, like it's sort of just like a simplistic hub of links to like other places. It's like, oh, go to my website, and then like from that website you can like get a link to my Twitter, you can get a link to my YouTube, you can get a link to Instagram, Tumblr, like whatever. But back in the day, like in the 90s, like late 90s, like early O's, like when they made a website, like it wasn't just like a hub of links. It was more of like a statement of interests. So here's where I'm weird about this site. Oh, hey, Mark. Oh, thank you so much. So I have a tarot deck that's the Thoth tarot deck. For the last 10 years, whenever I need to interpret a card from my tarot deck, I find myself going to thecorex.com. When I visit thecorex.com, it's very specific towards tarot. Each description of each card has a well thought out description. Here's where I'm weirded out. This whole website that I rely on for like good descriptions on like tarot and stuff This whole website is created by one person. This one person hasn't updated this website since 2010. So it's a little odd to me that this is almost a 15-year-old site that nobody's really updated. So here you got the Corex.com, you have the tarot site. This gets deeper. Hold on. Here's where I'm interested. I don't know who made this site. I don't know who made this website. But this website is definitely antiquated in the way where it hasn't been updated since 2010, which at this point is like 15 years. This website is still up though. And honestly, at this point, like, I really want to, like, find a way to, like, save the entire website because, like, the information on it is really good. I'm really interested in this person who made the website. I don't know who made the website, but they have very interesting Neogenian ideas, and I need, and I really mean it when I say I need. I literally need to find out who built this website, and I need to ask them questions about what they understand about reality. As a Neogenian, let me explain. This person says, "Dear visitor, please look about and read about the tarot, like I used to see it and live with it. This site offers you quite a close look. You can find out about your personal cards or use my tarot spreads to do an online reading yourself." So this person has put in a lot of dedication to readings and understandings of tarot. So here's where I'm really fucking interested in this person, and I need to know who they are because I feel like in some way they're Neogenian. This person says, I'm not the esoteric sort. And I always try to have a reasonable balance between my spiritual senses, my mystic intentions, and the laws of physics. I do not, or I do believe in the power of subconscious. I do believe in the power of subconscious, the theory of relativity, and the principle of cause and effect. At first sight, occultism and physics seem to contradict each other. But since we don't live in the Middle Ages anymore, we should give it a second thought. Further, tarot reading is an excellent way to learn more about oneself. Have a closer look at your inner self to examine your very own intentions and ambitions. The idea of this site is to give you a brief look at the cards, show the one or other way, maybe stimulate a little interest, and of course provide some fun. Just look at the two cuties in the upper middle frame. Neither of them were ever known for too much respect. the last update was 2010. As you can see, the framework of the layout has seen some changes, and I hope you'll like it as much as I do. There are new sections on the site as well as I'm particularly proud of. I'm really interested in this person's ideas of esotericism, because like they make a very bold statement that says, I'm not the esoteric sort. But then they talk about how there's mystic intentions and then like the laws of physics. So to me, this is a person who made this website sort of dedicated to like tarot cards, which I use this website for a fucking decade. And it was seriously last night where I'm like, I'm reading further into the person who made this website. And I'm like, this person has some interesting, very fucking Neogenian ideas. And what I mean by Neogenian is like this concept of like metaphysics and like esotericism and occultism, but paired very distinctly with reason, like rationality, like rational metaphysics. Like this, it's so weird to me to like look at this person and have them write about the concept of like interpreting cards, stating very clearly that like it's meant to be like a psychological thing, and then having this, I think it's so amazing. I'm so happy. Like I'm looking at this person saying, I'm not the esoteric sort. And I always try to have a reasonable balance between my spiritual senses, my mystic intentions, and the laws of physics. So, like, just by that phrase alone, I'm seeing that this person is having this sort of, like, metaphysical intuition of things. But then they also have this very rational, like, physical understanding of reality. And they're trying to sort of like breathe the two together. And it's like, who is this person? Who is this person? The last time this website was updated was 2010. It's 2024 right now. I mean, it's basically like 15 years later. If this website is sort of outdated and unkempt, why is it still up? I do like the fact that this is like an old school website. I'm weirded out as to why it's still like the domain and like the service is still like up. This person who built this website, which I'm going to refer to as Raven or Corax, because like they make it like kind of like very distinct that they are the Raven or the Corax. They're very into like hermetic principles. And hermetic principles are like super interesting, especially like in terms of like you know, thinking about Neogenian and stuff like that. Like, it's very close. Like, it's a very close concept, but it does have its flaws. But it's like, we can't exactly discredit Hermeticism. So you have all these, like, things here to the side. And let's see. There's one particular thing too, because like I'm at this point, like I'm trying to like just discover the personality of the person who created this website. Oh, stop it. Ah. Hermeticism is totally cool. Like it's not perfect. Like Hermeticism isn't perfect, but it's so cathartic, I think. Like in comparison to a lot of other systems in the world that are just so fucking off, like Hermeticism is like very cathartic, but it's not perfect. Oh, stop it. Oh, God. Why is my computer acting fucking dumb? So the guy who made this website, I don't even know if it's a guy. It could be a woman. It could be, like, something else. I don't know. Here's something else they wrote that I think is interesting. So the person who created this website, that I rely on very heavily for interpretations of tarot cards, by the way, that's why I'm so interested in this. So they say this. They say, "Dear visitor, please look about and read about the tarot like I used to see it and live with it. The site offers you quite a close look. You can find out about your personal cards or use my tarot." Yeah. Oh, that's the same thing. Oh, no. Wait, hold on. They had some really good, like, points. So they have, like, an entire, like, webpage about, like, the Tree of Life. There was something else, like, I'm looking specifically, like, for a passage about mind. So this person is definitely into the Hermetic principles. And I can't say that I fault them. It's not perfect, but like, you know, like... So they say, here, the principles of the all. Here's where I'm interested as a Neogenian. They say, you do not have to be an occultist in order to see the wisdom in the 7 Hermetic principles. You do not have to dive into the realms of obscure mysticism or spend the rest of your life studying any ancient secrets to understand them. Nor is it necessary to know one Hermes Trismegistus, whatever. What is it? Hermes Trismegistus? Is that how you say that? I don't know. Whether he might be a variation of an ancient god. Hermes, Thoth, Enoch, whoever, are merely a kind of medieval supermen of the occult, revived in the Victorian fascination for pompous myths. On the contrary, it's always healthier to have a good grain of salt at hand when the initiated authors get a tad too melodramatical. There's something about the way this person says about like having a good grain of salt at the hand when the initiated authors get a tad too melodramatical. This is a little bit hard to describe. I've definitely had moments in my life where I've read writings of authors, certain authors, particular authors, if you know, you know, that they definitely get too melodramatical in their ideas. Anyways, nevertheless, the 7 Hermetic Principles contain a good glance at the thought of ancient philosophy, thus embodying a universal truth, independent from any belief, based merely on the nature of things, such as the world, the life, the being, the all. They neither contradict philosophy or physics, and when you think of it, not even copumon of sense. The 7 Hermetic Principles, as simple and few as they seem, are the set of axioms whose understanding will ultimately refine your view on life and being. Doubtlessly, an inalienable basic to the behind of the depth of the tarot. What is that word? Inalienable? What is that? This is a word I do not know.
Inalienable.
Oh, inalienable. Unable to be taken away from or given away to the... Inalienable. Below, you will find a short list of 7 Hermetic Principles. Clicking the titles will bring you to further reading. The principle of mentalism. Here's where I get really interested. Okay, so I'm not even joking. I was up late last night till literally 3 in the fucking morning. And I even demanded that Susan get on Zoom with me. I'm like, Susan, you have to fucking tell me I'm crazy, right? I'm like, here I just discovered this website of a person who made this shit. Originally, I was just looking to this website for their interpretations of certain tarot cards. But when I started exploring this website, I find out that here's a person who has some very fucking amazing ideas that are super aligned with Neogennianism. And mainly because, originally we talked about, how this person stated very clearly, I'm not a very esoteric person, but I gotta admit, there's some shit going on here. So, this is a website that is old. It's 15 years old. This is an antiquated website built by a person who has very meta-rational ideas. Very fucking meta-rational ideas. And even though, they heavily rely on, Hermetic principles, that's not so far off, yo. It's not perfect. Check this out. So I click on this thing. The principle of mentalism. Yo, here's what this person said. I don't know who this person is. And I'll tell you what. I'm not trying to dox this person who made this website. I have fucking questions. I have to know. I have to know who made this website. I don't want to dox this person because that's not my intention to be nefarious. I have to know who made this website. I'm not even joking. This isn't even like a funny haha thing. I literally have to know who the fuck made this website because the shit they write, their personal insight to Hermeticism and occultism and physics is so fucking brilliant. I have to know who this is. And maybe one of you out there can help me figure out how to find somebody. Because like I said, I'm not trying to dox this person. But this website is 15 years old. It's so old. And the ideas on this are so profound. And I'm so entrapped and just enthralled. And I think this, like, I almost want to figure out a way to save this website. Because if this website ever disappears, I think this will be, like, a devastating loss of, like, insight to this sort of, like, meta-rationalism that was, like, pre-meta-rationalism before we even, like, thought about that today as Neo-Genians. Anyways, read this. Okay, so the principle of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. I mean, fuck. Kiss. Love it already. The first Hermetic principle is all about consciousness, stating that all is mind, putting consciousness over both matter and energy. The principle of mentalism implies a concept of natural, universal consciousness as the source and the essence of all being, as the creator and the creation. It is through consciousness that we and all the beings in the universe begin to exist as conscious ideas before we become physical realities. Do you see why I'm freaking out right now? Yo, like, I know that there's, like, a bunch of shit, like, on the internet. Like, I know there's a bunch of, like, weird-ass shit. But the fact that here's a website that I have looked to for a decade, just simply for interpretations of, like, tarot cards. But now I'm looking deeper into this website and I'm realizing the person who created this website has some really fucking profound meta-rational ideas. Like, they are very fucking, like, explicit about, like, they are so explicit about saying, like, hey, I am not somebody who, like, gives way to mysticism, but there has got to be a correlation and a connection between, like occultism and, like, physics. Like just stating that alone blows my mind. And it makes me so excited to be a Neo-Genian because, like, somebody was thinking these ideas well before fucking me, right? Like, this isn't new. Like, Neo-Genian isn't new. Like, it's not, like, some brand new, like, fucking just, like, I'm just wiping my ass and shoving it in your face. Like, look at my brand new shit. Like, doesn't it smell great? Like, no. Somebody else has already thought of this shit. And the reason somebody else has already thought about this shit is because this is a very rational conclusion to come to. Meta-rationalism is so fucking, like, on point. Note that this concept is reflected in the procession from the ace to the 10 in the minor arcana, from Kether to Malkuth in the Tree of Life. You will also find the trinity of consciousness, energy, and matter. As a side point, it should be said that this concept of a universal consciousness, in which man is a part of the whole, sharply collides with any idea of an omnipotent God or other kind of divine ruler who would willfully manipulate the natural process. Here's an interesting part of this last paragraph. Let me read it again. As a side point, it should be said that this concept of a universal consciousness in which man is a part of the whole sharply collides with any idea of an omnipotent God or any other kind of divine ruler who would willfully manipulate the natural process. So this last concept is it's very much talking about the concept of an external creator God. Straight up, I can totally tell, like, what they're talking about. They're talking about that everything in this website, like when you take into the occultism, the esoteric, like the even like the hardcore physics parts, like when you make that meta-rational connection, you know that there can't possibly be an external creator God. And that's what this is talking about, the idea of an omnipotent God or any other kind of divine ruler who would willfully manipulate the natural process. That's a good point. Why would there be this omnipotent being that willfully manipulates a natural process in which it creates to begin with? Very strange. This person has good ideas. Check this out. If you go to Corax.com, you get this blank page. You got a half moon up here. Let's see. You click open. This person has like a specific section like dedicated to tarot, which is like a lot about... This is like the part of the website that like I've always like kind of like looked at. They also have like, I don't know, it's weird. Okay, so like they have this section on Stevie Ray Vaughan, who was like a musician who died. There's Raven's Bookshelf. Let's see. This is a sort of like books that the person who created this website suggests. Which is suggesting Bertrand Russell. White's History of the Warfare of Science with Theology. H.G. Wells. Yo, this person has not updated this website for 15 years. So, like, I don't know what this person was thinking when they made this website, but this is a lost art. I just, like, I don't... I don't want to let this website go. Honestly. I explored very heavily, like, how to get in contact with this person who built this website, because, like, I have a lot of questions, and not necessarily, like, about the website itself, but about their ideas of reality. I want to ask them about, like, more specifics about what they think about Hermeticism. I want to ask them more about what they think about, you know, they said very specifically, like, they don't associate themselves as esoteric, but yet they can't deny it at the same time, and they think that there's some correlation with physics. It's like they're saying they're meta-rationalist without actually saying they're meta-rationalist, and I have more questions about it. If I go explore more into this website, and there's so much more, like, honestly, like, so let's see. They're saying here, like, where all this stuff is created. So you found the studio page of Corax.com, either out of curiosity because you're looking for someone to create a website for you. Okay, so at this point, I'm realizing that the person who created this website, they are also a website designer. So it's almost like this isn't so much of a statement or like a monolith to their creativity, but also just like a gateway to like their services. So when I find this, I go down to like contact, and I have already like filled this out. Like I've already filled this out. Like Jan Company Neogenian. Hey, contact me. And then if I go like, it says, oops, this page is lost. Do you all remember back in the day? Okay, like, I don't think you all do. Do you all remember back in like late 90s and early 2000s when you had a web page, you had a guest book? Like, you literally had, like, a guest book for your website. Like, you all don't fucking remember that? Like, this is such, like, an old school fucking website. Also, because, like, you would buy, like, a main domain name, but, like, you would also have, like, several, like, aspects of that website. So, like, it was very common to have like your main domain name and like your main subject, but then like have like branches of that. So like if you look at this person's thing, you'll go into like random like stuff. Let's see, email. Oh, is this an email? Oh shit, did I not click on this? Yo, what happened? Yo, where did that email go? Yo, I click email and it doesn't go anywhere. What is this? Who is this? No! I can't fucking find how to contact this person. I need to talk to them. Copy email address. Yo! I just fucking found their email address. Yo! Hold on. I need to find this person. I need to. Hey. I found your website. Hey, I found your website and I love your work. Can you please get in contact with me? Yo! Jan. Yo! I gotta find this guy. Like, who is this person? Here's a weird thing too about like these old school sites. Like you'll have like a main domain page and then you'll have like different things. It's like here's this big like thing about Stevie Ray Vaughan. I don't know anything about Stevie Ray Vaughan. Except for like he was maybe like a blues artist. So it's a little odd. Let's see, open. Raven's bookshelf. So Raven and Corax is like what this person calls themselves. They also made this weird sort of branch. It's the same, it's like offcorex.com, but it's of Freddie Mercury. Here's a weird thing. It's like, hello, I've never had the ambition to put up a Queen homepage. It was just that Freddie Mercury has always had to inspire me a lot. Or better said, his style and music inspired my fantasy and so my works. And I just thought the one or the other adorer of him might enjoy a look at this works as well. I'm not quite sure what others may think of this site, but maybe you'll tell me. Follow the red arrow to start the journey. All the best, Raven. We don't make websites like this anymore. We don't... Okay, so the way my generation makes websites is more of like a hub of links. Whereas like when people made websites back in like the late 90s and early 2000s, it was like an experience. It was an immersive experience. We don't get that experience anymore. We don't get websites that are like more of an immersive experience. Like today, like we don't get that. If you already found the music box on the intro page, don't click it a second time. So if you click this image, then these tunes don't play though. It's like songs. Let's see. I'm Going Slightly Mad, sung by Queen. like a really cool correlation with like this person's ideology and what they think about life and like their fascination with Hermeticism, and then like sort of a connection with Queen, and like not just Queen but like several different like artists. Let's see, go here, go forward. You get to another page like this. Yo, we don't make websites like this anymore. I think this used to have like an actual like sound with it, like music that automatically played, but it doesn't do that anymore. Let's see, go on. Yo, this is so old school, like... Please note that the magic image is a 19 KB QuickTime VR. It may be a while to load, especially with a slow button. It's worth it, but I'll leave the decision up to you. Yeah. I don't know who made the Corax.com. But whoever made the Corax.com is still paying for the hosting and the domain name. I need to find this person. I need to find this person. They talk about, let's see, the principle of correspondence. As above, so below. As below, so above. The principle of correspondence represents the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below. As below, so above, indicating an analogy between the various planes of being and life. It also reflects the arcane principle from one know all. It says as much that all planes of being function after the same rules and patterns, and thus the unknown can be comprehended by the knowledge of the known. Before you now jump to the conclusion that there is no unknown anymore, since you can easily conclude from the unknown, etc., etc. Ask yourself how known the known really is. How known is the known really is. For example, ask a row of people what a television set is. You can be well sure that everybody will readily know this, then ask them to explain how exactly a television works. Corax, I don't know who you are. I don't know who Corax is. Corax, by the way, is just a name for raven. Like, Corax is the Greek mythology Corax, ancient Greek. The scientific species name of the common raven. So, like, the Corax.com. Go to the website Corax.com. You will find a treasure trove of somebody who took the time to talk about every fucking tarot card with meta-rationalism. Somebody who knows that this isn't about predicting the future. Somebody who knows and understands that tarot cards are simply a psychologic insight to who you really are. Go to thecorex.com. This is a treasure trove of a website. A website that was made 15 fucking years ago and possibly before that. I don't know why this person is still paying for the domain name and the hosting service. I don't know. I don't know who this person is. But they have brilliant insights that are meta-rationalist. They have a brilliant meta-rationalist insight to what is like occultism and physics and the space in between. I don't know who the fuck Raven is or Corax is or who the fuck made this website. But I have to know. I have to know. I have to know who this person is. I have to know what they think. And I want to ask them specifically about their ideas of not being esoteric per se, but recognizing intuitional insights and connecting them with physics and I don't know. I guess I'm just in awe. I'm in awe that somebody went through so much trouble to create this website with such profound, brilliant insights that are meta-rationalist, and then like suddenly they're just like they're gone. They're gone? Like they're paying for this website. This website still exists, but like, where is this person? I don't know. This is a mystery that I'm really invested in. And if I can get even just 5 minutes of this person's time, if they are alive, I don't know if this person's dead and the website is simply just standing just because it's like being taken out of their account. Like, I don't know. I don't know who you are, Corax, but I like you. And I have many questions about your philosophy of life. So, anyways, my friends, I think that's enough for tonight. I think I'm ready to get off. I think I'm hungry and I want to like eat some dinner. But I have this weird fascination with this website called thecorax.com. I don't know who it is, but I hope they are still alive, and I hope they give me the fucking time of day to ask like some questions. So interesting. Anyways, thank you so much, everybody, for like hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you next Friday, because as you know, I go live every Friday and I talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about. Anyways, I want to know who made thecorax.com. I want to know who made the website, The Corax. Corax.com. Corax.com. Who made that? Who are you? And how can I talk to you? Like, it's gotta happen. Anyways, tomorrow is the Oculus live tomorrow. And yes, Susan says the Oculus is live tomorrow. I said last week the Oculus was live, but they lied. They said they weren't live. Anyways, they're definitely live tomorrow. So I will see you tomorrow on the Oculus, the Neogenian Oculus, which is a really good YouTube site hosted by Susan and Philip, and they are very two intelligent people that I look up to, and you should definitely listen to them. So join me tomorrow on the Oculus. Thank you so much to our moderators, Cassie, Mark, Susan. I think Philip was in here for a minute. Maybe he wasn't. I don't know. Either way. Anyways, yeah, check out the Corax.com. I don't know, like, I'm going to try and get this person, like, to talk with me. So, like, hopefully I can find them and hopefully they're still alive. Thank you so much. Anyways, oh my goodness, it's like 3 hours of live streaming. I'm so done. Thank you. Like 3 hours of streaming. I'm good, and good night. Thank you so much. I think I've talked my ass off. Like, we are all set. We are all set, my honeys. Look at my hair. Like, I look weird. Like, I look tired. I'm just like, I look tired. I am tired. I'm just like, my face looks so silly right now. Just like, I look distraught. Like, I look fucking tired and distraught. It's so funny. Okay. All right. I love you all. We'll see you later. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye. Mwah.